How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Lowball Kingz podcast. This is episode 11 of our weekly episodes that we have here on the YouTube channel. And if you guys are new, consider subscribing. Drop a like if you guys learned something in this podcast. This is a 30-minute segment. And if you guys want to see the full 1 hour long video, it is on our Patreon down below. And we also have a Facebook group where we have a community of eBay resellers. So, all right, guys. So today's topic is it's better to be smaller on eBay, and we're going to explain why, the pros and the cons of being bigger versus smaller. I personally have about 6,500 items on my eBay store, but I've had up to 16,000, and I'm kind of regressing into like a more smaller eBay store, and Colin is at about 10,000 items right now. So we're going to compare it to, being small in the 200, 300 item range and to where we're at now, and, kind of explain why the smaller eBay stores are better. So go ahead and explain to us, Colin, some of the points that we have written down, and we'll start off.
All right, so the first reason why a small eBay store might be better is because stress level and commitment. So when you have a small store, like let's say a small store is like, I'd say 1,000 items or under, you don't have the same stress as if you would have 10,000 items like me. And that is because, like, for instance, like back when I was about 1,000 items or below, I could go take a vacation. I could take a day off anytime. But now I'm at the point where I have a good amount of items selling every day, and I have to fulfill those orders every single day. So like, if I decide to, take some time off, I'd have to figure out how I'm gonna get all those shipped and taken care of during that time. So like, it's not the same freedom that you would think, even though it's still just an eBay store, but there's a lot more going on. And that's more than just the items that you have to ship to. There's also, you're gonna get, like right now, I'm getting maybe about 60 messages a day on top of those 40 items to ship every day, 44 items to ship every day, 60 messages to answer every day. So like, if I wanted to take a day off, I would have to make sure that I have someone there to take over that work. Whereas, smaller store, you could take off whenever. And that's pretty nice because you could still get away.
And you get done with the work a lot quicker.
And you could still get away with making a full-time living with a small store. Because once, like when you're in that first 1,000 items, you're going to be, focused on higher end items. Whereas me, I have 10,000 items, but I got to post up, I posted up 10,000 just to make, that extra amount. Whereas like the first 1,000, that's like the bulk of the money, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, not always, but, like you could make a decent portion, probably like, half of what I'm doing if you just focus on the good 1,000 items. But I have to work a lot harder just to make a little bit more each time. Sense.
Yeah, it's not. We talked about this on our last episode, that when you double the amount of effort, you don't necessarily make double the money.
Yeah.
Like if you go from 10 items a day listing to 20, it's not necessarily going to mean that you're going to get twice as many sales.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends what kind of product you're getting, but normally you have to like triple or quadruple the amount of effort in order to double. It's kind of weird with eBay. It doesn't just keep doubling. And you kind of figure that out the bigger you get. When I was at 16,000 items, and now that I'm at 6,500, you'd think I'd be making way more at 16,000, but I'm making kind of the same amount of money. My 90-day total it went from 120,000 to 105, and it keeps going up now. But my cost of goods is lower because I'm spending way less because I'm not getting as much product.
Yeah.
And my employee cost is much lower. And I feel like someone could definitely, in a little 25 by 25 garage, you can or I don't know how big a garage is, maybe 16 by 16, something like that. You could definitely get to like an $80,000 a month, 80,000 90-day total. I think you got there, right, in the garage when we were sharing it?
Like
70 or something like that?
My highest month was 30,000 in the garage.
1 month, right?
Yeah, that was with some high quality products. I think I had some Sonos. I got a little some Sonos stuff during that time, so that gave me a boost. But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, we only had a couple hundred square feet each at the most, and we were able to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
So like, yeah, that's expenses are a huge one. Like, you know, for most people, their rent or their living costs, that's their biggest expense, right? And that's like what, like rent is usually like, you got a family, you might be paying like $2,000 a month for rent, $1,500 a month or something.
Yeah.
But the moment that you need to get like a warehouse, that's gonna obviously double. So you're gonna double your biggest expense right off the rip, and then you're gonna have, if you're gonna get a warehouse, you probably need people helping you too. So then you're gonna need to pay someone, and usually nobody wants to make less than like $1,500 a month. So now you've already tripled your biggest cost.
In order to, and like we explained, you don't just double the amount of listings. So you get a worker, let's say if you double your listings, you're not necessarily gonna make double the money.
Yeah.
So that's just way more stress. Your expenses went up in terms of the rent, and then your employee costs, if you get an employee, because we didn't get an employee right away when we got our warehouses, but we did have to increase the amount of work we did, because obviously we're like, damn, we got that damn rent now, you know, at the end of the month on top. So it was kind of scary, and we just started working a lot more. But not, I remember I started exploring with a worker, but yeah, it just worked out because we got more product, and you know. But definitely for a person that's starting out, you need to look at the amount of money that you're going to be spending when you do make that jump. And I recommend most people to not make that jump unless you're already making a good amount of money in the garage, and you just know for a fact you're going to be able to fit more product in your space. Most people, they're struggling to even get product to get by when it comes to their garage, right?
Yeah.
So I think 99% of people shouldn't move out of their garage and or housing situation to like move and try to get bigger. Most people are just not going to be able to do that. And
yeah, because if you already have a garage, or you already have a space in your house that you're already paying for, because you're already paying to live there, then that space is basically free.
Yeah.
So, like, if you know, the moment you decide to sign a lease, let's say your warehouse is $2,000 a month, that's for a year, that's already over $20,000 that you just committed to. That it's going to be $20,000 less dollars that you're going to make that year.
Yeah.
But like in my case, I make it work, but I also have to sacrifice. You know, like I'm putting in a lot more work than other people. But you know, you want to have a balance. Like there's this one guy I saw on YouTube. I don't remember his name, but he had like, I think 20,000 listings or something. But he was like a single guy, no workers, no nothing out of his house. And I'm pretty sure he was using like, you know, multiple rooms in his house for his inventory, which is like, that's cool. Like obviously he's optimizing it, but at the same time he's like sacrificing a lot of his time and his energy. And I bet you know, he doesn't have a lot going on outside of eBay, which is like,
after a while, it's cool to do it at the beginning.
Yeah, it's cool.
We did that, but after a while, it's like, okay, how are we gonna live normally? You know, it's not sustainable for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But as that guy, he's got 20,000 items. He needs to get a damn warehouse.
It
depends. Some people are in cities where it's just like a warehouse that we have is like 8,000 a month or something crazy. So it depends where you're living too. You know, we do have like cheap warehouses here where we're at.
Yeah.
And so I guess if he could just pay his rent and then keep doing it out of there, that's not bad as well. But it just has to make sense for him, and maybe that's just working out for him right now. But most people are, you know, in the range of trying to make $1,000 a week, and you could definitely do that in the garage, in the comfort of your home. And in the garage, maybe your bedroom is where you ship, and you keep all that stuff in there, and you just have a little cart and you roll your items in there, ship every day, ship out 10 a day, you know.
Yeah.
So what's another point that you marked down right there?
Another point I marked down was guaranteed money. So when you're a smaller store, there's a lot more clarity on where the money's going, because you can go item by item. You know, if you're a smaller store, you're probably only bringing in, you know, less than 50 items a week. So that's like less than 10 a day. So you could easily make sure each item there's going to be at least, 40-50% profit minimum.
Yeah. You can definitely, and you'll remember exactly how much you paid for each item. You pick up every single individual item, like, okay, how much for this? And you pay for it, right? So when it comes to that, you see exactly what you're buying, and you can check in the comps how much it goes for before you even pay for it. The way we do it sometimes is we just buy bulk, and sometimes every single dollar isn't allocated perfectly to where we make profit, right? Sometimes we just buy a lot of stuff, and it's like, damn, that wasn't even worth it, you know? So
in the moment that you the moment you go on like the larger volume, you're going to need help. Unless you're going to sacrifice all your time, you're going to need help. And the moment that you get somebody else to step in your eBay store is the moment that you have to give up some control and some clarity on how much money you're going to be making. Because depending on what kind of task you have them doing, that they could be making little mistakes. They could be, just small little things. They could be, like there could be certain items that they're not listing properly. It could be like, what if it's a really expensive item and they put it for a low price?
Yeah.
Or
you lose control of everything because now you're trusting someone else, and maybe you don't teach them correctly. That's the problem that I had with my last person, is a few items weren't listed correctly, or either way too cheap or more expensive, or something gets returned.
Yeah.
And it hurts, but that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to hiring someone. Maybe I could have done a better job teaching them. But yeah, you lose control once you bring someone else in. Because you can still mess up when you're doing everything yourself, but you don't know what else someone else is doing. They could be wandering off, or
you can't be watching them all the time.
And you don't want to be micromanaging. That's just annoying. They're not going to want to work with you,
Yeah.
So it is really hard.
It is hard, and like for instance, if you're the only person on your eBay store, then everything that your listings, your shipping, your messages, that's all your work, and you know exactly, like, let's say you hold yourself to a high standard on all that, and then you bring in somebody else that now, let's say they're taking care of your shipping or they're taking care of your pictures, and they don't have the same standard as you. It doesn't matter, because now they're going to be doing their work on your store. So it's basically, that's if they have low quality, that's going to be on your store now. You're going to have lower quality.
It's on you. It's not.
Yeah.
And the buyer isn't going to care.
Yeah, the buyers
whether you did it or someone else. Yeah. So it's on you.
Yeah, you can't message the buyer, be like, oh, sorry, this is my worker that did that. They don't care about that. They want to get what they want. So there's going to be lack of clarity when you go bigger. But when you go smaller, you're going to have more clarity. You're going to have more control. And you should, like, for instance, if you don't have the rent cost and you don't have to spend that $20,000 for the year, well, now you're already up $20,000 technically, because you don't have to spend all that money.
Yeah.
Because, like, you could just, that's the cool thing about eBay is, a lot of businesses, you have to, invest a lot up front. But on eBay, you could just get a few items, very low cost. They could be cheap items, and you could just start making a good amount of profit without.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. When you're starting out, what you want to be doing is selling your items that you've already had that you don't want anymore. Shoes, clothes, electronics. Sell them all off. Start with that money, right? So that's the best way to start. And then you start with that money on stuff that you don't want anymore. Everyone has stuff that they don't need. PS4 or whatever. Old gaming stuff, old shoes, old clothing, old jackets, old jerseys. And that's the best way to start. Use that money, and then you start buying items, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You have way more clarity.
Way more clarity and
way more control of your store when you're smaller.
Yeah, and your home should always work. Like, your home should always work. If you're a small store, then there's no reason why your garage, or let's say you have your garage and like maybe a little like extra little space you build out in the back or something, that should always be enough space. You could always find a way to like compact things and organize them.
And also, speaking of the 20,000 that you're committing to, if you were to get a warehouse, right? That 20,000 could be allocated into better product. Instead of just buying volume, you just focus on better product. Maybe something's $120 for one item, you buy that, but it goes for $600, right?
Yeah.
So you could buy more product like that because you have less space. You spend more money on less items, more expensive items, but you're making more money per item, right?
Yeah.
So that's what if you're limited on space, that's what I suggest people do. And also, maybe instead of giving someone, $1,500 a month for the employee and the $1,500 for the warehouse, that's $3,000. What if that's all on product, and you can list 50 items a week, but it's all hella good product, and you allocate all that money that you would have spent on warehouses and stuff like that, you allocate into the best product that you can get. But that's not always the case.
Yeah.
But you can find stuff out there. You can find good deals, but definitely with that kind of money, you can mess around or save it.
Yeah. And another thing too is like when you lose control and clarity, like I feel like it's a whole job in itself. Like for instance, when you buy, like we've been buying more in bulk, or at least me. I've been buying more in bulk, and so there's a higher chance that since I'm not buying each item, there's a chance that, let's say, I spend a few thousand on like a few hundred items, then I'm not going to be able to visually see each one. I just got to kind of know that, all right, I bought this before, hopefully it's going to be good this time. So
yeah, I
got to be willing to handle a loss every now and then,
Yeah.
And sometimes, some people can't handle a loss. Like even, as you crank up the volume, more items, bigger store, you're gonna have more returns. You're gonna have more people that might be kind of scamming you, and so that's something you got to be dealing with regularly too. So if you don't have like the mental capacity to just let those kind of things go, because it is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Then that's not gonna be the move.
Yeah. Like right now, I just got a $600 return for one item, and if I was more careful, if I was smaller, I wouldn't have to deal with that. But that's kind of what you sign up for when you're a bigger store. Sometimes you get 5-6 returns delivered back to you one day, and then you got to send all that money back, and it adds the heck up,
Yeah.
And if you're watching every single item and you're testing out every single one, when you only got 50 to worry about for the whole week, you can definitely have more control of that, and you can avoid all that headache, because it is a headache.
Yeah. The next point is quality over quantity, which is kind of like what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But the thing is, again, you have more control, and you could pay attention. You could pay more attention to each listing. So then the odds of like right now, I have so many items in my store, and now I'm starting to go through some of my older listings that I was more focused on quantity over quality. So a lot of them, they just either the pictures are really bad, or like the description is really bad, or there's just the price is way too high. There's just a lot of like stuff that was like it shouldn't even be posted, or stuff like that. So now I'm having to backtrack. Whereas if you have a smaller store, you're focused on a smaller amount of items, you can make sure you do high quality on each one, and that feels pretty good knowing that you did each one to the best of your ability. All of them are priced correctly. All of them are. You have good pictures on all of them. You have good descriptions on all of them, and that all those should probably sell.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas with the VA right now, there's a lot of items that they're not priced properly, and so they're probably not going to sell. And that's something that I work with my VA, but it's something that I'm always going to deal with, because he's I don't pay him I pay him $1 each, so he's never gonna. He's not going to work on the store like I would work on my store.
Yeah. So quantity over quality, or quality over quantity. Like when I'm listing an item, whenever I list one, because I do list sometimes, like I always pay attention to like little stuff, like, oh, there's a little antenna missing and this and that, and sometimes, or there's no remote and all that extra stuff that you say for like a specific item. Or you fix the title. Sometimes there's something wrong with the title and you just fix that. Sometimes your worker won't even notice that's not part of the title. Someone just messaged me saying like, hey, what does that extra number say at the end of the title? And I was like, actually, I don't know what that is. He's like, that's my SKU number that I use for my store. You guys copied my listing.
Oh, yeah.
It had nothing to do with the receiver.
Yeah.
And I told him, oh, my bad, that's our fault. But yeah, because I would have noticed that it's just the receiver, the Yamaha XR205, whatever, and that extra number honestly shouldn't be there, because that's something I would have noticed. I would have taken the time to see that that's nothing. So my worker didn't even know, because he has like no experience with that kind of stuff. So he left it in there. So that's something I would have taken the time to fix, right? But when I have someone else do it, I lose control a little bit, and we're just pumping out the items quickly. So that's what happens.
And then that's how you could easily get more returns too. Because like if there's just one little thing off, and because a lot of times our workers, they don't know the items like we know them, because they're fresh. They don't even know much.
Yeah.
So like if there's, like a missing button on a remote or something like that, they might not even notice, because they're just totally not used to handling these type of items.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of room for more mistakes like that cost money, because you got to ship the item out, get it returned, and then that increases your items not as described, which gives you extra. Like I have to pay an extra few thousand a month right now for having like I think 9 or 10% of my items like not as described, which is pretty damn high. So that's something that that sucks, but I've made it work just because I've been pumping it out hard.
Yeah.
But another thing you can do when you focus on quality on your listings is you can optimize each description, so that when someone's searching for your item, like let's say on Google, like if someone's looking for, a lot of the items people are looking for are like maybe like a rare item that they had back in the day, they want that nostalgia or something like that. So when they search for a certain item, they can find your item if you put like on my if anybody's watching this right now, you could look at my descriptions. It'll say like brand, model, color, and a few extra details. But what those do is when someone's searching it on Google, it'll give my like if it matches closer to mine, then mine will have a higher chance.
So it'll be more keywords to be able to pop up on the Google.
Yeah. So like luckily my VA does that, but like if someone's hammering out listings on their own, going for quantity, then they're probably like a while back I wasn't doing that. I was just minimal description, quick as possible.
Yeah.
So I think that helps a good amount, honestly, just having those little details. And plus, when someone is shopping and they see those little extra details in your description, then they're like, okay, for sure, this is the one that I needed.
Yeah.
And then so again, you're having quality over quantity, because people are going to have a higher chance of buying that same item.
Yeah, definitely. What's another point they have right there?
Another point is smaller store is going to be more sustainable for 10 years.
Oh yeah. So let's say our business model, that what we're doing right now, we could definitely, for the foreseeable future, we could keep up the pace, but something can happen where what if you can't get product? It's not sustainable at this pace, right? Mm-hmm. But when you have a 300, 400 item store, like you could definitely keep going with that, right? Mm-hmm. Forever. Unless you just mess up and you get suspended or banned, right? But if you don't get banned or suspended and you're taking care of your store in terms of your messages, all that stuff, if that's taken care of and all you're doing is just bringing in your 70, 80 a day and just doing that, like that's definitely doable, right? So it's more of a model that you can do for the long run, and you're watching every single dollar, and you're pretty much saving money every week as well, because you're not gonna have like a week where you just spend thousands of dollars on like a certain investment, because you're only spending maybe 300 a week, making this much a week, and it just keeps piling up like that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the lowest risk possible, and it just you can keep going forever. Risk. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because like for instance with my expenses right now, if the way that I source my items, if those suppliers that I have, if they were to somehow something happened where I'm not able to get that regular flow of items, then I'm putting out, well, at first I'd have to lay off my worker, I have to tell my VA that he'd have to go home, and then on top of that, I would have my warehouse expenses, and all the other things that, since I've been making more money, all those things I wouldn't be able to manage those anymore. So there'd be a lot of stuff that like I'd have to change a lot. I'd have to shut down a lot of stuff. Whereas if I just had a smaller operation, if things died out, I couldn't get any items for a while. That's okay. There's no expenses anyways. I'm working out of my garage, so it's not a biggie.
And as we're talking in this video, we're kind of talking like robots. We're reading off like a thing. I'm thinking right now, it's like, it's not a bad idea, because obviously I'm living in this warehouse right now. It's like, what if I get a pretty big house in that town that we're thinking of going, like a 3-car garage, like a monster house, $2,800 a month or $2,500, maybe two of the rooms I use, and then I use the garage.
Yeah, I thought about that too. That could work.
Dude, honestly, we're telling these people to do this, and now I'm like, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea. The only thing like in that situation would be, which is the situation before, was making sure you could separate work and home life. That's the biggest thing.
Well, because my goal for after this warehouse was to stay in that one as well. So, you know what I mean? At least where I'm living is going to be hella comfortable. I can shower right there and cook. And obviously the workers right there. Yeah. Because where I'm headed after is going to be months of the fuckery that I'm going through right now. Like that uncomfortableness. Yeah. And that'd be a lot more comfortable. I don't know.
That would be cool. Honestly, I thought about that.
Damn. We're over here telling people what to do, and then now we're like, it might actually be the move. But obviously I'd optimize it to where way more than 50 to 70 items a week that we're getting, but it would be cool.
Yeah, or like you could get like that one spot your dad was showing us, with a little ranch home with a little shop
thing in the back. Yeah, because that's not that big either. Yeah. It's like, obviously it's bigger than a garage. It was like at least 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, at least. It said 4,000, but I think it was more like 2,500, 3,000, at least from the pictures. But
it's not a bad idea, for sure.
It's not a bad idea, because at the end of the day, like the warehouse, if you run out of items, there's not shit you could do at the warehouse, but at least you have a big house, That'd be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. And I'd just shrink my store. I'd probably sell a bunch of stuff off, racks and stuff, and then cater to the garage, the garage thing.
Make it work in the garage. Costco racks fit in there.
Yeah, they fit perfectly in there. Yeah, because honestly, 6,000 stores or 6,000 items, if you think about it, like how I have it right now, I wouldn't mind getting to maybe 4,000. I can definitely run a 4,000 item eBay store in there, and I can definitely be over 100K 90-day total. Definitely, I could easily do that, and I could be in the comfort of a house. I think a house where we're thinking is going to be like 2,200 for like a monster house like that.
Yeah. Whereas like a
warehouse that I was thinking of getting over there is going to be close to that.
Yeah, like a warehouse would be like the same price. Plus, if you want to get a small apartment, it's going to be another 1,500 at least.
So yeah, because my goal was to go over there, get I was thinking if we didn't partner up and get a huge one together, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get one for like 2,500, and then I don't want to be living in a warehouse forever, right? It's gonna be a short-term thing. 2,500. If I get an apartment, any single apartment that I looked at, bro, even one bedroom was like 1,200. Like every single one, there's that's a minimum, and it's gonna be that nice.
You're gonna be in the hood.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the hood. If I wanted to get something decent, like respectable, it's like 1,600, 1,700.
You're gonna be in the hood, in the back house of somebody's by the alley. That's where you're gonna be for 1,200.
Yeah, so that's gonna be hard. The only thing is also it's a house is maintenance in terms here. There's like my dog is here. The hair's there. I can just brush it up. It's not that big of a deal, right?
Yeah.
But
house, there's a lot of maintenance.
Yeah.
Like I haven't even mowed my grass since I lived at my house, and I've been there for like 8 months.
Yeah.
No, my neighbors hate me for that.
You don't like that boat in front. Yeah. No, but yeah, it's as we were talking about that, I've been thinking. I was literally like zoning out and thinking about that option. I'm gonna think about it more now, and see what's going on.
Yeah. Honestly, if it has a shop in the back, that would be cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Or even a backyard and I could put like a shed or something, like the ones my dad has. That's not that bad of an idea either.